Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here, and welcome to what really is just a fun video, a fantasy booking scenario in regards to all the matches at this year's Money in the Bank. Now we've already done some serious predictions in regards to this event. It's already in my predictions video up on the channel, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But for today's video, we're just going to have a little bit of fun. Now in regards to the men's Money in the Bank match, we went with the predictable pick of LA Knight, the logical pick of LA Knight. Yeah, being the one to win this year's Money in the Bank briefcase. But what if WWE have got a number of swerves? And I've got three potential swerves. First of all, Drew McIntyre returning to WWE, entering himself in the Money in the Bank briefcase match. And you might probably think, why would he get away with just entering? Well, Logan Paul did, didn't he? He didn't have to qualify. And also just think of the hometown pop. And also think of the prospect of Drew McIntyre, potentially a heel Drew McIntyre down the line, taking on Seth at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight title. That would be badass. Now, being brutally honest, I would be resistant to WWE entering Drew in the Money in the Bank ladder match, mainly because I like what they've done in entering superstars that aren't former world champions. I feel like it gives it a little bit more of an edge and makes it feel more meaningful. Next up, what if WWE do the unthinkable and they go with Logan Paul for the win? Just think of the heel heat, just think of the publicity that this would give WWE. Logan Paul with the briefcase at his podcasts, on his social media, all over the world getting eyes on the prize in regards to WWE. Not to mention the fact that he could cash in anytime, any place. Of course, being on a part-time contract makes this even more intriguing because you really don't know when and where he's going to show up. And my final out there pick is Damian Priest. I think this is actually potentially WWE swerve and the likely pick if they don't go with LA Knight. And what about Damian Priest winning the briefcase and teasing Finn Balor the fact that he has a shot for the title anytime, any place? And just imagine taking things a step further. What if Seth Rollins was to get defeated by Finn and then Damian could potentially tease a cash in on Finn for that title? Now, in regards to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, I can't see any other logical booking scenario other than Io Sky winning. And that even applies to a fantasy booking scenario. I love the thought of a jealous, raging, absolutely livid Bayley resenting the fact that Io Sky got the job done, became Miss Money in the Bank, and she didn't. That storyline could play out throughout the summer, and it would be really intriguing. Trish, Becky and Zoe are wrapped up in their own storyline, which inevitably is going to come to an end at SummerSlam, where either we get Becky versus Trish and Becky gets her revenge on Trish, or maybe they go with Zoe Stark and Trish versus Becky and a returning Lita. That would make sense in terms of the storyline. And that, of course, leaves out Zelina Vega, and I can't really see them going all in on Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega got a shot for a main women's title against Rhea Ripley not so long ago in Puerto Rico, so I can't see them going down that underdog route again. I think down the line they will, potentially, but not at the moment. So I'm sticking to my guns there in the women's side. So, of course, that brings us on to the tasty Cody versus Dominik Mysterio match. And I say tasty because this could be more unpredictable than it's set out. Now, in the predictions, we went with the predictable outcome of Cody Rhodes winning. And if you think about this logically, there's no way on God's green earth that Dominik Mysterio should be pinning Cody Rhodes, who surely, inevitably, is going to finish his story against Roman Reigns when Roman Reigns has no bloodline members left. And we'll come to that in a moment, and win the undisputed title down the line. I can't see it any other way. I haven't seen it any other way for some time now. But what if Brock travels all the way from the States to the UK to cost Cody? And just imagine the bragging rights from Dominik Mysterio. He would go on for the next decade bragging about how he beat the American Nightmare in Cody Rhodes. Do I think this should happen? Not in a million years. Do I think that Brock Lesnar is going to travel all the way to the UK when he's not advertised to be in a match just to take out Cody? No, I really don't think so. But it's just a fantasy booking scenario. It could happen. Never say never. And of course, that brings us on to the World Heavyweight title match, where we get Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor. And this match on paper is going to be tasty. I can't believe they've waited 7 years for a main title match. I'm talking world title scene between the two of them. Of course, when that happened 7 years ago, Finn Balor beat Seth Rollins to become the first Universal Champion. I think it's going to be a predictable Seth Rollins win, but what if they have other plans for Drew McIntyre? Drew McIntyre returns in the match, turns heel, takes out Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor becomes the new World Heavyweight Champion. Think of the bragging rights in the Judgment Day, where you've got Finn Balor with the world title, Rhea Ripley with the women's world title, and then you've got Damian Priest potentially with the briefcase, teasing that dynamic between Finn Balor, the fact that he can cash in anytime, any place. That would be epic. Think how powerful and dominant that would make the Judgment Day. They could add a mid-card title to the scene there as well. I'm not saying put that on Dominik, but never say never. At this rate, you could probably put it on Rhea, as she's squaring up to every single man on the roster, it seems. Now, this is my completely out there, wacky, completely off the planet fantasy booking scenario, and it is non-match related. Now, there's one superstar who nobody is talking about in the lead up to Money in the Bank, and that superstar is former WWE champion in Bobby Lashley. He's not on the Money in the Bank match card, and he's got to be pretty furious about it. Now, he could come out, cut this defiant promo, voicing his frustrations for missing WrestleMania, for not getting the match against Seth Rollins at Night of Champions for the world title. Of course, he didn't win the world title qualification tournament. And also now not being on the match card at Money in the Bank. And then cue those dark lights. The lights go out and we get Uncle Howdy on the apron holding Eric Rowan, former Wyatt family member, his sheep mask, a modified version. We saw the Wyatt family cryptic tease from Eric Rowan on his socials. He tweeted that out. I've covered this in a separate video, so go check that out if you haven't already. You know Bray is returning soon, but you get that tease, and then you can revisit what was going to happen with Bobby and Bray leading up to WrestleMania. It might be a little bit tricky in Alexa Bliss's absence, but I'm sure they're going to swerve and pivot. And for me, being a huge Bray Wyatt fan, being a huge Fiend fan, I've always believed, and still believe to this day, that the Fiend teases were there in the lead up to WrestleMania, and you can still do that. You can have a matchup between Bobby and Bray at SummerSlam and return the Fiend. That would be flipping epic. And of course, that leads us on to the final match. The Bloodline Civil War, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. Now, predictably, I went with the Usos to win, and I do think that's going to be the case. But what if that still is the case, but the end result post-match, there's a bit of a swerve? What if Roman Reigns is so livid that Solo Sikoa is being pinned by either Jimmy or Jay? They lose the match. He sort of pushes Solo around a bit, goes livid, absolutely snaps, and that is the trigger for Solo. And Solo Sikoa turns on Roman Reigns and leaves the Bloodline at Money in the Bank. I think this is highly unlikely. It's more than likely that they're going to go with Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam, potentially, or even Jimmy. We'll have to wait and see. I think it'd probably be Jay. But what if that happens and then we get Solo versus Roman at SummerSlam? That would be juicy. That would be tasty. So what do you think? Thank you so much for watching the video. As always, it'd be very much appreciated if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you in the next one.